I'm Deyo, founder of Chronal House and the creator of Chakranomicon. Chakranomicon grew out of a project I started in the fall of 2009. That project was also going to be an animation about the chakra system, but my plans weren't too specific about what I wanted to show. The initial concept was going to be much shorter in length, perhaps just a few minutes. I started out by creating a series of very brief test animations of each of the chakras. These test clips were only about 10 or 11 seconds in length. As I completed each one, I uploaded these early animation studies to my personal account on YouTube. Then I began working on combining them into a short scene that showed the entire system, as well as where each chakra could be found in the body. But before I could finish the animation I had originally conceived, something quite unfortunate happened. The computer I had at the time was a few years old and didn't have the memory or the processing power to carry off the idea I came up with originally. A software crash left most all the work I had done up to that point corrupted and ruined beyond salvaging, except for a 41-second test animation I had done of the entire chakra system and a digital rendering of a freeze frame from that animation. I called the finished still image Namaste, which now appears in the opening title sequence for Chakranomicon. But the loss of the original scene file nearly caused me to give up on the project entirely, chalking it up as a great idea that was too complex for my computer to complete. I moved on to other projects, leaving the chakra project incomplete for the better part of a year. In October of 2010, however, I received an email from an energy healer who had been watching the short test clips finished the year before. He pointed out to me that those chakra animations, if redone for a longer time, could be very useful in his work. They could provide clients with a point of visual focus during meditations for particular chakras. He suggested that 5 minutes would be ample time for each chakra. I was certainly up to the challenge of extending the length of these individual animations. But rather than make them available as individual video clips, I got the idea to link them within a framing visual that would show the order of the chakras in series, starting from the root and moving upward toward the crown. The concept I needed was one I already had created in the still image Namaste from the initial animation project. Since the scene I created for that animation no longer existed, and since it had brought the software crashing, I doubt I'd have any better luck with that idea even if I could accurately recreate it. But I still had a number of source elements used before, and with some simplification was sure I could build a new animation that my computer could handle as well as be more visually streamlined. While it would be months later before I came up with the title, the idea for the video, that's now called Chakranomicon, was born. The main focus in creating Chakranomicon was to give people a way to visualize something that is very abstract, and for most people certainly something the human eye isn't able to see. While there's a lot of great source material that describes these centers in the human energetic body, I wanted to create something that brought a vivid sense of reality to them like nothing else I'd encountered. So the most important challenge for me in producing this video was to find a way to use the digital tools and techniques I knew to show the chakras so that each had a distinctive look suited to its type of energy, but also resembled the others so that they looked like they were part of a related set. Obviously, since the chakras are descriptions of energy centers, they would each have to be animated so that you got the sense of energy radiating within them. And since the word chakra itself means spinning disc, I also wanted to give a sense of constant turning that is fitting for them. The way I approached this was to envision each chakra as being illustrated by two animated elements. One of these would be very organic in the way it moved, suggesting living energy. I wanted the style of this element to be unique from one chakra to the next, and to also invoke their associated colors. The second element would be very iconic, invoking the traditional symbolism of each chakra in a way that reminded us of their long history, while at the same time was animated in a way that could be consistent from one chakra to the next. To create the more individual and organic sense of moving energy, I use software that animates particle systems. Particle systems are perfect for creating animation that has a seemingly random way of moving, but within a recognizable flow. Particle systems are used, for example, to animate things like waterfalls, smoke, and fireworks. The software can be used to select the shape of particles animated, how many of each type of particle is created, how they move, and how they fade out over time. I experimented with various choices for types of particles and patterns of motion until I settled on the 7 that I would use. They all appear to generate their particles and keep them confined within more or less circular areas, and were assigned the color ranges appropriate for the chakra for which I wanted to use them. After that, it was a matter of having the software generate an animated clip of 5 minutes in length for each chakra. To create the more iconic elements, naturally I turned to the traditional symbols that were long ago created to represent each chakra. I was able to find a number of pictures of these symbols on the web, and selected a set that would form the basis for the symbols I needed to create as 3D objects to which I could give surface textures, highlights, and could also animate as I needed. I started by importing the small pictures I found on the web into a drawing program so that I could redraw the outlines of those symbols. Once I had those outlines created, I imported each one into some software that would let me take those 2-dimensional outlines and turn them into 3-dimensional shapes by adding depth to each one of them. These 3D shapes were then given surface textures, primarily a metallic gold finish that would suggest a richness to them that seemed befitting to such honored spiritual symbols. The finishes that were applied to the lotus petals that surround each symbol was tinted with the color of its chakra to help visually connect the symbol to the animated energy it was going to appear against. Finally, to create a sense of movement in the symbols themselves that would be consistent from one to the next and would invoke the meaning of the word chakra, I animated the outer ring of lotus petals so that it would slowly turn in a circle. The next step was to combine the animated energy formed by the particle systems with the animated symbols. That was easily done in the same 3D software I'd used to create and animate the chakra symbols themselves. I just added a square surface behind each symbol and applied the particle animation to that square as a surface texture. When rendered together, the result was a 5-minute clip of each chakra that consisted of symbol with slowly turning lotus petals surrounded by very organic patterns of energy. To provide musical accompaniment for each chakra and for the rest of the video, I turned to my longtime friend and talented composer David Maddox. David had already provided music for Chronal House, including the musical theme of its animated logo, the title music for my web-based show The Temporal Reverie, as well as for segments within individual episodes of that show. As I was editing these clips together to form the complete video, I added a few more elements to each segment in order to create more visual interest and to provide some basic information about each chakra. So each segment opens with the name of that chakra in Sanskrit and in the appropriate color, zooming out from the center of the screen and then fading out. The name of the chakra in English also appears briefly alongside a description of that chakra. I placed a silhouette of the human body behind the animated chakra so the viewer got a clear sense of where that chakra is located in the body. Finally, each segment ends with a few bits of text to describe the emotion of that chakra, the aspect of the self involved, and the activity in life that chakra helps us participate in fully. To tie these 7 clips together, I needed a unifying concept. For that, I turned to the still image I had created before undertaking the video, the rendering I titled Namaste. That image not only showed all 7 chakras together in the column they form within the human body, but also the 3 main energy flows that move between the chakras, called Nadi. It also had other elements I liked and wanted to use again, such as the overlapping body poses and outer frame that invokes Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, as well as the angelic wings that appear in the caduceus. The caduceus is another powerful symbol associated with health that appears against a central rod flanked by interwoven snakes in a way that clearly evokes the energy flows of the chakra system. So I created an animation based on that rendering that I could use to open the video, provide transition from one chakra to the next, and finally to close the video. The video opens with the 7 chakras materializing against my homage to the Vitruvian Man and against the central energy channel moving between the chakras. This animation shows the chakras as a collection, ties them to the human form, and then provides the basis for flying into each of the 7 symbols one at a time, as if to zoom in into each chakra for a close-up. The video returns to this opening visual between each chakra, and again at the end, where the other two energy channels that links the chakras appear, and where the angel wings unfold in a manner that suggests the caduceus, or the human being offering a traditional namaste greeting. Each of the chakras has a particular color associated with it. Traditionally, the colors of each chakra are red for the root, orange for the sacral, yellow for the solar plexus, green for the heart, light blue for the throat, indigo for the third eye, and violet for the crown. The distribution of these colors correlates to the way colors are spread out by a prism through which you shine white light. And it was that comparison that led me to re-examine the colors associated with the chakras. As an occasional student of science, I felt that violet wasn't the best choice to represent the crown chakra. As the gateway between an individual human being's energetic body and the energy of the divine, the purity of white light seemed more appropriate for a chakra that receives divine energy and channels it into the human body. In this imagining of the chakra colors, the crown chakra is the spiritual equivalent of the spot on a prism where white light enters and is then fanned out into the color spectrum many of us have learned about in school. Emerging from a prism, the 6 main regions of color are red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and finally violet. So I adapted my presentation of the chakras to resemble white light spreading out as it does from a prism. So the throat chakra became simply blue, and violet was assigned to the third eye chakra. I've since learned that this vision of chakra colors has become increasingly popular among contemporary teachers of the chakra system. Finishing the video itself wasn't yet the end of the project. Once the video itself was done, another entire process was kicked off to define and design the features of the disc title that would be released to the public. Initially, I had thought to create an iPad interactive application based on the video, but the programming effort required would take a lot more time and thereby delay the release of the project. Since there are many more disc players in use than tablets, it made sense to create a disc release first and think about an interactive application later. The decision to release Chakranomicon initially as a video on disc immediately opened up other possibilities, such as the ability to offer a choice of soundtracks, one with the music alone, and 2 others containing spoken affirmations written for each chakra mixed into the music, for both English and Spanish audiences. It was a blessing that the husband of a coworker was available at the perfect time to both translate the affirmations I wrote into Spanish, as well as to provide the Spanish voiceover work. Proof that the universe does indeed unfold as it should. A disc release also made it possible to provide bonus content along with the main video feature. The full-length video provided 5 minutes of meditation on each chakra. Depending on the individual, some people were bound to want to focus on the chakra of their choice for longer periods of meditation. So I created 7 individual clips, one of each animated chakra, without music or additional visuals. These clips play in a loop for as long as anybody might need, along with any style or length of music the viewer chooses. These clips are available in a meditations menu on the disc, and there's an Easter egg to find as well. Computer animation is perfect for high-definition presentation, so clearly there had to be a Blu-ray disc version of Chakranomicon. But I also didn't want to limit availability to people with Blu-ray players, so I decided to simultaneously publish and release a standard definition DVD version. Luckily, the software I used to author the disc titles could generate both editions with minimal amounts of rework. As both disc editions neared completion, the process of designing packaging and all the other elements of these releases began. It's taken a long time and a lot of work, but I'm so very proud of the end result. I hope that you enjoy it and find it a useful and informative tool for improving your life. And may the gifts of love, joy, peace, and enlightenment come to you all.